ripping and roasting. Yeah, that's what we do. Set 'em up, knock 'em down, make that cherry glow. Whiskey and cigars, the gentleman's cologne. Cheers, y'all.
Well.
That sounds like a party just about to happen.
Kind of. It was a different well today, but that's all right.
You were into that one.
We could change it up.
Very
yeah,
into
it was throaty. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally
Hi, Mom.
as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. We are so glad you're here because it's a landmark. It's a big. It's one of those like tentpole sort of shows. It's number 375, and I always count on Ian to handle the math when it comes to the show.
If I do the math correctly on that, let's see, 3 carry the 1. That's halfway exactly to 400.
Okay, good to know.
That's how the math works.
Feels like we're inching closer though, but we still seem to be.
We're still at the halfway point.
Okay, that's good to know. Well, welcome to the program. We are on location once again, and now the last time we were on location at Casa de Monte Cristo, formerly Serious Cigars.
Which was awesome.
And we had such a good time that we thought, let's do it again, except let's drive further. So
at Casa de Monte Cristo, formerly Serious Cigars.
Formerly Serious Cigars, right. So we're at the 1960 road location of Casa de Monte Cristo, formerly Serious Cigars, because they have multiple locations in our hometown of Houston, and I think there's Casas actually all over the country. If I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah. So I walk in the door, expecting just to see Terry and Ian and the
same old crabby faces.
Yeah, right. And lo and behold, an old friend of the show. Well, I say old. Number one, she's not old, and number two,
seasoned.
She's a friend of the show from more recently, actually.
Yes.
Lizzie Mae. Wow, how cool is it?
Hey, yeah.
To have you here.
Thank you. Nice little change in visual.
Yeah. So the last time we saw you, we were at your place, which I understand is now a former place. I'm
Yes,
sorry to hear
correct.
about that.
Yes, El Cuerpo Roto.
El Cuerpo Roto. But that was such a fun show. The artwork was amazing. The cigars were great. We drank some of your booze. It was wonderful.
Yes.
But we come to find that you are now working at least part-time here at the Casa de Monte Cristo.
Yep, on the weekends.
All right, so we'll let you tell us about all of this in just a few moments, and that'll be cool. And we have lots to do on the show today. We're going to be sampling some beers. In fact, we not only will be sampling beers, but we're going to work on today pairing cigars and rum here at the Casa. And the rum we're going to be pairing cigars with is a Calabran Reserva 21, a single estate selection rum from Panama. So excited about getting into a little
awesome.
Panamanian rum. We'll sample some beers as well from Urban Family Brewing Company in Seattle, Washington. We'll be trying their Lakeside Lager. It's a German-style Pilsner. From Anchorage, Alaska, and an old standby Anchorage Brewing Company. We love these guys. They do such great beers. We'll be trying their double IPA, which is named We All Need a Friend.
We all need a friend. I love it.
I love it. And then finally, from Fort Worth, Texas, and Martin House Brewing Company, we'll be trying their golden stout with coconut that's named Alien Apocalypse.
That sounds awesome.
It already.
That's perfect, yes.
So we're going to be looking forward to that. Oh, and we'll tell you about some cigars to watch for, of course. We'll talk a little bit about the plethora of cigars that are available here inside the humidor.
The humidor's insane.
Yeah, I told you earlier that when I opened up the door, I thought, I'm not sure if there's a heaven or not. But if there is, when those pearly gates open, it's going to look just like what happens when you walk into this humidor.
Absolutely.
Think about how great that would be. I don't know if it's in the scripture anywhere, but just like rows and rows and rows of cigars.
This
just sounds
humidor, it's amazing because if you look at what's there, looks like a decent sized humidor, but then you take a right, and every time you turn, it's like a new discovery of more humidor.
Oh, I know. He's like, another corner.
And there's
over
a
here.
hallway that goes down here that's all humidor.
It just keeps going.
And then you take a left,
Right.
and there's more humidor, and then you take another left. It wraps all the way around the store. There's a whole nother section like
Yeah.
this size or bigger, and it wraps all the way around there. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. It's very, very cool. So we'll talk a little bit more about that later. We'll also be talking about some very interesting things. We teased this last week, and I don't think we ever got to it. So now that baseball season is in full swing, we want to talk about
well done. You said full swing.
which major league parks have the best craft beer. So we'll get to that and talk about some of the things, because there are people. My brother does this. He and his son, my nephew, have tried to attend every major league baseball park in the country at
That's
some time
awesome.
or another. That's
Wow.
just a little tour thing they like to do for themselves. So they're big baseball fans. Unfortunately, they root for the Rangers, but hey, no one's
That was
perfect.
perfect. Exactly.
No one's perfect. So, but in any case, they've been to not all, but they're getting very close to being to all of the major league parks. So I'll have to instruct him a little bit on where to go for the best beer, I guess. But,
Yeah, well, there's that.
so, and of course, we'll be bringing you drinking news. And today's drinking news is the segment where we bring you a story that may or may not be about drinking, but is always best enjoyed if you've been drinking. And we like to give you a drinking news teaser headline. Today's is: I'm not going to be ignored, Dan. You recognize the movie that's from? That's from it was Glenn Close, Michael Douglas. What, Basic Instinct?
Oh.
Is it? No, it's not
No,
Basic
not
Instinct.
No,
Basic
no.
Instinct.
What am I thinking of?
101 Dalmatians?
No, it's
101 beers.
why can't I think of the name of this movie? It was like famous movie where she's the kind of like stalking him because they had like a one-time affair and then she won't
Was
go
it
away.
Glenn Close? No, you're thinking.
That was in 9.5 weeks.
No, I
I'm
know.
pretty sure it was Glenn Close, but
No, it was what's her name? The real pretty one.
Sharon
what's her-
Stone.
Sharon Stone, thank
Sharon
you.
Stone, yeah.
That's, what, that's
Not
why
that
Glenn
Glenn Close
Close
is not
threw me
pretty,
off
but
a
okay,
little
Sharon
bit.
see
Stone,
this.
yeah.
I'm
Handsome
way
woman, but
Yeah.
I'm way off
Or
my
were you
game.
thinking of Fatal Attraction?
Fatal Attraction. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you, yes,
Thank
Fatal
you, Terry.
Attraction.
Oh.
Yes.
All right, so I'm way off my game today, and I apologize. And we'll get to. I think once
It's
we
the
start
eclipse.
drinking, once we start drinking, it's it's going to get
set
better.
us all right.
Yeah, that's right. Speaking of drinking, Ian has procured something from the bar here because this particular installment of Casa de Monte Cristo has a full bar, and Ian procured us something from there for
The
today's
mystery beverage.
beverage of mystery,
oh,
or as we
beverage of
like to
mystery.
say.
The bomb.
So there you go. And nothing's complete without a voiceover of some sort. So,
That sounds good.
so Ian, you got us something from the bar. I
So-
don't know what it is.
Yeah,
Anything you wanna tell us?
you didn't have a beverage of mystery, and I didn't have
Right.
a beverage of mystery. So I went up to the bar and searched around and found a beverage of mystery,
Okay.
something we could try.
All right,
So
you're
I'm
the only one
I'm
of us
the
who
only one that
what
knows
this
who it is.
It's got a nice sort of fruity,
Yeah,
and-
almost
It does.
appley.
and carbonated nose to it. Nothing offensive about the nose.
No, not at
Reminds
all.
me of a Jolly Rancher.
We always have.
Oh, yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
We always have a little bit of trouble with beverage of mystery. We seem more likely to dislike them than to like them. For the most
Now
part,
I
right?
only peripherally know what this is. I
Yeah.
saw it and I said, okay, how about that? So I don't know anything about it. I haven't even read the can.
It tastes pretty much like the nose.
It's
That's
actually
nice. It's
it's
smooth.
actually pretty good. I mean, it definitely strikes me as a hard seltzer,
Yeah.
and it's some kind of berry
There's-
flavor, maybe with apple. I don't know.
There's just a kiss of that artificial sweetener aftertaste.
Yeah, it
but
doesn't
it's-
have a lot
It's
of
not
oversweet.
obnoxious like
Yeah.
it normally
Well,
is in this
yes,
thing.
thank you. That's exactly what I was going to say. As that artificial sweetener aftertaste goes, the thing that ruined so many hard seltzers for me,
Yeah.
and some other canned cocktails as well. This one's goes pretty light on it,
It
but
is.
it is sweet. The sweet taste is there, but
There's
it doesn't
definitely a
have
flavor.
that.
Overpowering.
Well, this one's called neutral,
Oh,
but it's
Uh-oh.
spelled with less vowels and an umlaut.
yeah,
Neutral.
yeah, okay.
So, vodka seltzer, real juice. Vodka
Oh.
with real fruit juice, sparkling water, and natural flavors. It comes across as actually
It's
better
pretty-
than most of
yeah,
the
it's
ones we've tried.
Pretty drinkable, I have to say.
It
Yeah.
says on the package though, it says this stuff tastes good, like really good, like that one time, like that one night you never forget. Good, that good? I don't.
I don't know. Perhaps I've forgotten.
They have to sell them.
No
I don't
added
remember that
sugar,
night.
gluten-free, and natural flavors.
You have too many of these, you won't remember that night either. So
And it's got the skinny can, so you know you're drinking something that is
Healthy.
somewhat better for you for some reason.
yeah, yeah.
At least not as bad for you.
I thought the skinny can just meant there was a lot of water because that Michelob Ultra comes in this.
But look how
exactly.
big look how big it makes my hand look.
I watched a thing and they were talking about light beer when they created it because apparently before that there was a thing called diet beer.
Oh,
It was actually just legit called diet
that
bear,
doesn't
Wow.
sound
and
good
it
at
did
all.
not taste
It
good.
sounds
Apparently,
like more appetizing than that.
Yeah, that does
That
not
does not,
sound good. Well, we've got a lot, Terry. Because we're on location, I'm okay,
yeah.
pretty good.
Bereft of time.
Yeah, I have no idea how much time we have left in the segment, but we really have a lot of things to talk about today. One of them is, and okay, so you guys know, or if you spend any time studying this stuff, you know that the economy is a really complicated thing. Too much inflation, bad. Too much deflation, prices going down, also bad. Like you would think, oh, that'd be
Right.
great. We'd love for prices to just go down everywhere. But that causes all kinds of other problems. And so there's this weird balance that has to play out for things to be pretty good all over. And so that's why I'm not sure that what I'm about to share with you is good news or not. But you remember the warnings over the past several years that there was going to be a severe agave shortage,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And that it was going to impact tequila prices. And sure enough, tequila prices have been going up. Well, apparently, the farmers who plant the agave got busy and planted a bunch of agave because now agave prices are tumbling.
Oh, wow.
Uh-oh.
And so there's a lot of talk now about how this is going to affect the tequila industry. Will it be good? Will it mean prices can come down? Will it mean better for consumers? Does it mean there's so many different questions? And tobacco goes through this as well.
Mm-hmm.
There's been times when tobacco has been a little short, and
Right.
the result can be that a lot of manufacturers wind up using less quality tobacco in some of their blends. And then if there's a glut of tobacco, then it's like, okay, well, how are the manufacturers going to hold on? Where are they going to store all this extra tobacco? So
There's that.
there's balance needed everywhere. We'll talk about it with agave, mostly because I'm just concerned because I love tequila so much. So we'll.
The real question is, though, when they raise prices, I don't know that I've ever seen them lower prices.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Once they raise prices,
It's kinda like the
there-
airlines,
There's
right?
got to be
They
some
hold,
sort of
and
right.
that's
There's
it.
got to be
Yeah.
some sort of meeting that happens. Goes, okay, well, we have so much stuff, we could lower prices, and then someone looks over and goes, but then we wouldn't have as much money.
Yeah. It's kind of like the airlines. Remember when they started charging for bags? You didn't used to have to pay for bags, right? To check bags, right? Then they started charging because I think it was a fuel crisis or there was a reason that they had to start doing that. And I said at the time, they will never go back to not
Never.
charging for bags again, even once the fuel crisis is over.
Except for
And it
Southwest.
and Southwest will charge you for multiple bags, but you get like your first.
Yeah, each
One
bag
or-
for-
or
it's like
There's
when
now
parking used to be part of the concert ticket.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Well, there's now a new peak hour fee
yeah. Oh
with
yeah.
the with
Wow.
the charge of bags.
Yeah.
It just rolled
Oh,
out.
wow.
And
So,
and don't get me started on concert tickets because that's Live Nation, and I'm gonna just say this right now: there is no more corrupt organization in the entertainment business than Live Nation. They're
And with
horrible.
that-
They're horrible, and they suck. And we'll be right back with more Smoking and Toasted. Obviously, we're not sponsored by or promoted
tell me
by
how you really
Live
feel.
Nation. Welcome back. We are on location, and this is Smoking and Toasting, show number 375, on location at Casa de Monte Cristo. And I should mention that we're doing this show on the day of the eclipse. So I drove here in almost total darkness. It was pretty.
I thought it was the end of the world today.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But
Is it 2012 again? Is that-
every time the eclipse comes around, which seems like it's every 4 or 5 years, they say this is the last one for 47 years or something like that.
And you're not
So I
even
get
you're not even
confused.
wearing your tinfoil hat
No, I'm not, and I'm not. I'm also not wearing the glasses that let me see the eclipse. So
that you can buy at any convenience store.
yeah, no, I didn't manage to get any. So I just looked straight ahead, not up. That was my mantra.
Always good when you're driving.
That's right. That's right.
Well, if you go blind while you're driving, you're going to drive just like everybody else in Houston.
Yeah, exactly. So, Ian, what are you smoking there? I know
I
she just lit one up.
started
Yeah.
up the day. I started up the day with an Aladino Maduro Lancero, and that was delicious. But I just finished it during that
Old
first
favorite.
segment. So now I fired up a Rocky Patel The Edge 20th anniversary. Now I've reviewed this cigar, and I reviewed it highly.
Now, how much difference do you find between? And I realize it may have been a while since you smoked just the regular Edge, but how much difference do you find between the regular Edge and the 25th anniversary, 20th anniversary?
20th anniversary.
Yeah.
The 20th anniversary has a little bit rounder profile to it. It's still a big, full flavored cigar, but it's not quite as harsh is not the right word, but
Maybe not.
it's a little smoother overall.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
a little kinder with its full flavor.
Well, one of the things about the Edge came out at a time 20 years ago. Came out at a time when there weren't nearly as many full-bodied cigars on the market.
Right.
And the Edge just kind of unapologetically said, you know
full
what?
flavor. Here we go.
Here we go. The whole deal. And it wasn't expensive, at least back in the day.
Right.
And it just was a huge hit. In fact, I don't want to say it's what put Rocky Patel on the market, put them on the map, but I think it was for a very long time their biggest seller.
Yeah.
Even though the special edition ones with the purplish band, the 1990 and the 1992,
Right.
those were and still are very, very good
Yeah,
cigars.
I just had a vintage 92 the other day.
Yeah.
They're so good.
Yeah, but the Edge was just a sales monster because I remember going into Serious Cigars over by 610 and 59, which is now Casa de Monte Cristo.
Yes.
But back then it was just Serious Cigars, and they had one of those big long 100 count boxes of the
Because
Edge.
it used to only come in the
Right,
big giant box.
and you would every time you go in, you have that box a little more empty, a little more empty, a little more empty. Oh, there's a new box.
Well, I think he hit the spot with the Edge because the Edge came out at a time where if you'd been smoking cigars for a while and you're looking for something with a little more, a little bigger flavor overall,
Bolder, yes.
and a little bolder flavor overall, then and then on top of that, he made it very affordable.
Yeah.
So he really hit that sweet spot with those cigar smokers that were looking for something a little extra, got a little extra, and paid a little less for it. I think it's a fantastic cigar overall.
I'm about halfway through, and I lit this before we started the show. The Crowned Head Series E. It's the one with the red band, which I'll show to the camera here. I'm not sure
Some of the brands I always have to remember the color of the label.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm enjoying it. I will say the first half of it or so, I thought it was good, but didn't really strike me as being, like over the top, like wow. But since about the halfway point, it's really kind of stepped up its game.
It's coming into its own.
Yeah,
there.
kind of coming into its own. I'm getting a lot more flavor in there, getting a little bit of earth and leather, some nuts. So enjoying this, and I'm going to continue to smoke this. We'll talk a little bit more about this incredible humidor here, and Liz is going to tell us why it's the place to be now at Casa de Monte Cristo. I call it Casa North, but I don't know if that's what you guys call it.
We call it Casa.
Casa.
I mean, Casa 1960.
They all live around here, so they just call it Casa.
And we'll be right back. It's Smoking at This. On location at Casa de Monte Cristo on FM 1960 in the greater Houston area. My name is Cruz. My partner is Ian. Terry is on the wheels of steel. Woo-hoo. Adam and the cloud making it all work back home. And our guest is Lizzie Mays. Lizzie, welcome.
Hey.
So great to have you. We
Thank
are
you.
at the enormous location of Casa de Monte Cristo. There's
Yes.
a full bar, which you can probably see behind me.
Yeah.
The only thing strange about the bar is I'm sitting here instead of at it. And
Right.
So this is a pretty unique store. Lizzie, tell us what you have learned since you have become part of the staff here.
So I recently started here, and I learned that we have about 1,600 different, 1,600 open boxes, different cigar types brands. I mean,
That's
it's
like
just
unfathomable.
it's like a buffet, I would say, like a
Mm-hmm.
really good buffet of cigars, except you got to pay for each time you go up.
Not
So.
like your local Chinese buffet, but like one of them buffets in Vegas.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, it's the Bellagio buffet.
we don't want to give anybody the wrong impression. It's not an all-you-can-smoke buffet.
No.
No.
You got to
But,
pay each time you go up.
Yeah, but the selection is kind of like that.
It is.
It is really well-rounded. I walked in, and immediately to my right was the AJ Fernandez section.
Yes.
So I got
It's a mighty section.
I got completely
You paused
delayed.
there for a minute, yeah.
completely delayed at the front end of it.
So you started in the dessert section.
Yeah, I
That's
did.
what you're saying.
That's exactly what I did.
I mean, you look like a tourist walking into New York City for the first time.
Right, and I kind of felt like a tourist walking into New York City for the first time. And but as I wound my way around, and there's lots of turns and corners, I noticed they also did a great service by putting the overpriced cigars are all grouped at the back in a really beautiful display, and it says Davidoff on it.
Oh yeah.
So,
Yeah. Davidoff,
and they're not
Padron.
overpriced because Casa charging too much. They're overpriced because they're Davidoff. I'm just saying.
Absolutely.
You said Davidoff enough times in one sentence, you already owe him like $20.
That's the whole point. But
Yeah.
Seriously though, did it take you a while to learn your way around
I'm
that
still
humidor?
learning. I think one of the great things that I love about this location, there's a feature table, so what's
Like
what's
new
featured,
and
what's
exciting,
new,
new featured,
exciting.
yeah.
We also have a section for the people that work here, some of our favorites. So if you
Love
want to
that,
see
yeah.
what it is that Liz likes,
What's on your favorite?
so it's the Pravada. So I like,
The
Liga
Liga
Pravada,
9,
number
right?
9.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
number 9. So that one is my favorite. I tried that last week and kind of love at first smoke. I fell in love with that one. Yeah, love at first smoke. So
Love it.
I definitely enjoy it. And I came just in time because Texas Cigar Festival is coming up this weekend.
Okay, and so tell us a little bit about that. Obviously, now this show airs on Saturday, so by the time people hear this show, it'll be underway.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So we are, by the time they hear it, we'll have had our pre-party here at this location. And then it starts this Saturday from 1 to 6. If you get your, VIP tickets, you get in at 1 o'clock. Regular tickets get in at 2 o'clock. So regular tickets, $225, VIP $325. But that comes with general admission is 30 cigars. You get 2 drink tickets and food. VIP $375. You get 35 cigars, open bar, and the food is a
Oh,
part
wow.
of it.
Wow.
And that's at Stampede, Houston. That's 11925 East X Freeway.
So worth coming to Houston for if you're from
Yes.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something you want to notch on your calendar for next year if you're hearing this too late to make plans, because that sounds like a whole heck of a lot of fun to me, and be able to walk out of there with a bag full of 35 cigars. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you said 30. Well, you said 30 cigars
30 for general admission.
for general admission.
And
So you
35
paid
for VIP.
$225 for 30 cigars plus drinks and food is an outrageous deal.
I bought 7
really
the other
is.
day and it came up to about 125.
Yeah.
That was just 7
I mean
cigars.
it's real easy to rack it up
It
when
is.
you're walking through the humidor, and that's just because cost of cigars. So 30 cigars, I mean that's a box and a half of cigars for a price of what you'd pay for a box of cigars of
And drinks.
of a modest price cigar,
Right.
You know,
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
totally.
drinks and food.
pretty
So,
amazing.
Well, I really encourage people to attend these kind of events because you want them to be successful, so they do more and continue to do them. Because even if you can't go in a particular year, you want to make sure you get the chance to be there next year because they're just too
Absolutely.
much fun. Just
Just
too much
experience it.
fun. Yeah. Some cigars to watch for. I have never smoked a hot cake cigar. Have you?
Oh yeah, they're
You have
freaking
smoked a hot
great,
cake?
Yeah.
Well, they
The
look
HVC,
amazing.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Yeah, they're from HVC, and they're expanding. HVC is now expanding their hot cake brand with a limited production extension called Fresh Out of the Oven Broadleaf.
Oh, nice.
It's named for its dark wrapper grown in the Connecticut River Valley. The line was shown at the PCA trade show in Vegas, and it ships to retailers in a couple of months. Starts in July.
I will try that immediately as soon as I see one because the hot cake is such a great cigar anyway.
Fresh Out of the Oven Broadleaf is rolled with a dark Connecticut broadleaf wrapper, Nicaraguan binder, and Nicaraguan fillers. Cigars are said to be medium to full, and they'll come in a torpedo for about $15 and a Toro Extra for $17. Production, though, is limited to 500 boxes of each size for 2024.
Oh, wow.
So that's something to keep your eyes open for. And a decade ago, Kyle Gallus of Warped Cigars debuted 3 cigar brands. He debuted El Oso, Don Reinaldo, and La Colmena, which all had the unique characteristic of not only being made in the United States, but made at El Titan de Bronze, a small factory in the heart of the Havana district in Miami. So to mark the anniversary of this, they're releasing a trio of limited edition cigars to commemorate each brand, and the first is the El Oso 10th anniversary. It has already shipped to retailers. El Oso, by the way, is Spanish for the oso.
That is correct.
Yes, I know it means bear, but I still love the joke. I do.
You know, there's 11 Below Brewing here, not too far from where we're sitting, actually. Has a beer called Oso Bueno, and it has of course, the double entendre of saying Oso Bueno, but also it has a bear on the can.
Well, the cigars bands will feature the image of a bear, and the sizes in the regular line are dubbed a cub, a mama, and a papa, as they, of course, increase in size. So you might want to check that out if you're a fan of Warped Cigars. And I like Warped a lot because they just kind of do things a little bit different. They don't seem to be just following the sort of normal tradition of cigars.
Yeah.
They kind of come at it in a warped
kind of way,
I suppose. Yeah. So we'll look forward to checking all of those out. And I just wanted to mention, as I continue to smoke on this Crowned Heads Series E, the one with the red band, this gets more and more interesting. The first half, wasn't anything wrong with it, but it wasn't necessarily, I wasn't getting a lot of complexity. Now, from about the halfway point on, it's becoming more and more complex, and I find myself really enjoying this so far. How's the Rocky smoking over there?
It's nutty and oaky and delicious, and it's hitting the spot. It's exactly what I wanted today.
And I didn't ask you, Lizzie, what you're smoking.
My favorite, it's the Tabernacle Lancero.
Oh, yes, I remember you talking about it.
Right.
These are always my favorite. Full body, kind of peppery taste to it. Great smoke. Luckily, I ate before. So.
Yeah, yes. Are you a Lancero fan? I don't remember.
I am.
You love that size.
I do. I love Lancero. It's just a lot more concentrated taste.
You're a fan of that size, particularly in some cigars.
I am. There's certain cigars that in that size are just so good. They're so
your
good.
Aladino was a
That
Lancero.
Aladino Maduro Lancero is just one of. It's something about that particular size makes it amazing.
It does.
It's a good cigar in the first place. But
my feeling is that just for me, the sweet spot is about a 44 ring gauge. So that's a little bigger than a Lancero, but not necessarily all that big in terms of.
I don't know that I'm a size queen when it comes to cigars. I kind of like certain cigars are great in certain gauges, I think, and I have no problems going into like a EPC inch. I love those at the 60 and 65 ring gauge, or even the 70. Ring gauge cigars have no problem with. I love the nubs; those will come in at like a 60 usually, or a 64. That size, that particular size, doesn't bother me. That just kind of goes with the cigar.
It occurred to me that I forgot to give you the beer.
You did.
So we should jump into.
Change mic.
What's that?
Change mic.
Oh, change mic. My mic is dying. Thank you, Terry. It occurred to me that I didn't give you the beer for this segment, and so with a few moments left, we should jump into this and do some tasting. This beer is a lager. It comes to us from the Urban Family Brewing Company. To the best of my knowledge, the first time we've had an Urban Family Brewing Company beer on the show. This is their Lakeside Lager. It's a German-style Pilsner, and these guys are from Seattle, Washington. It was interesting. I went on their website just looking for a little more information about the brewery because I was not as familiar with them. And apparently they specialize in sours. They had the list of what's available in their tap room, and it's like a couple of IPAs, a couple of lagers, a couple of stouts, and like 38 sours. 38 sours. I'm exaggerating, but there were a lot more sours than anything else. So, and they all look very interesting. So we'll have to try to track down one of their sours because they all sounded very, very interesting.
Right.
But this lager, they did have several lagers and pilsners on their menu that I looked at, and this one is called Lakeside.
Delicious.
Lager. Well, I thought you might be
good.
interested in it because it's a German style Pilsner, and you kind of like that
it's
style.
Absolutely fantastic.
You begin to think of, that sort of
there's
goes well with pretzels and bratwurst.
Yeah,
sort of,
there's
beer,
a
right?
dough and a kind of a sweetness to it that's so good, right on an aftertaste.
Yes, it is good.
And it plays really, really well with my cigar.
Got a nice
Yeah.
crisp taste.
Yeah,
to
and
it,
finishes
yeah.
finishes a little on the crisp side.
It does.
Not a lot of information on here. It just says German style Pilsner, 5.9% by volume, urban family layers, sandwiches, etc. That was very strange.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what that meant either. I thought maybe you would know. But it's got interesting artwork of people out enjoying the lake,
People diving into the water.
diving
there,
into the
yes,
water
sir.
and what have you. It's a pretty cool looking can. Very kind of an understated can, though.
Yes.
But yeah, you're right. It is so drinkable.
So good.
This is very crushable. Does it say what the ABV is on this?
5.9. So not too huge.
Yeah, not too huge. But again, it's a lager. I mean, lagers aren't usually much bigger than that.
No, actually, it's a pretty big for a lager.
Yeah,
I think.
I was going to say a lot of times they're in the 4 range. So this is this is really good. It's crisp, even though it's got that sort of German Bavarian kind of undertones to the flavor. It's got a crispness like a Kolsch.
This is like I
does.
think one of my favorite lagers we've had on the show.
Wow.
This is so good.
That's
this
good.
is an
It
extraordinary
has this taste
lager.
right at the front that hits you and then just dissolves
Yeah,
away.
It does.
It
It
really
starts and finishes well.
Yeah.
absolutely. Thank you. Well said. Would you like to be on the show all the time?
You ever play in a band?
Special guest
It's
on
all about
occasion.
intros and it's all about intros and endings, right?
Exactly.
This
You
next
start and how
song
you finish.
is about my old girlfriend. I'm sorry, I have no idea where that came from. I was just going to say the finish on this being kind of crisp and Kolsch-like reminds me, just because we have a moment, I wanted to tell you guys the story. My wife and I went for crawfish last week, and it's that season in Houston. And for those of you who live places other than
Crawfish are expensive this year.
Yeah,
They are.
other than this portion of Texas or Louisiana, crawfish are basically like little lobsters. Because I've also lived in
For those of you up north, you call them crawfish.
yeah we
Crayfish, crawfish.
what do we call them?
Crawdads,
Crawdads,
mudbugs,
yeah.
lobs.
mudbugs. Yeah, they're
Mud
mudbugs.
bugs.
Is what they
Little
are.
lobsters.
But they're delicious, especially if they're prepared well. And we went to our favorite spot for crawfish and just had a big batch of them, and everything was wonderful and delicious. But I wanted to mention that out of the beers they had on their list there at the Crawfish Cafe, I chose the St. Arnold Lawnmower, which is their Kolsch. And when
great.
that beer first came out, I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I've turned a corner recently and decided that I now love it. And I don't know if I could have found a beer that would have gone better with the crawfish.
I put down the last of my 6-pack of that last night, actually.
With the crawfish, it just was the absolute perfect accompaniment to
And for
that.
those of you out there who never thought of it, because this was a game changer for me, whenever you go to eat crawfish, bring rubber gloves. It
Yes.
And
makes
don't wear white.
Pro
all,
tip.
They gave us these
makes
little
all the
They gave us
difference.
these little gloves that are kind of like made out of saran wrap, and of course I tore both of them.
Those are
as soon as I
terrible.
put my
Those are
hand-
terrible. And then usually if a place gives you rubber gloves, they don't make them in
Take a
this
mill
size.
5 latex.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
So,
Well,
I always put a few in my wife's purse, and then we go out and have them. We have a wonderful time.
Well, if you're from somewhere other than our home base, which I know a lot of you are, anytime you are planning a trip to the Houston area, come during the months of like March and April. Not only is the weather pretty good,
Yes.
but crawfish are in season, and it's
Yes.
something you have to. Just like when you go to Maryland, you have to try the blue crabs. When you go to Massachusetts, you have to try the lobster. And when you go to Maine,
Canada, you have to try the poutine. No.
Yeah.
that's a whole other show.
We'll teach you how to eat them when you get down here. Remember, suck
Yeah,
the
that's
head
right.
and pinch the tail.
There you go. That's how it's done. So anyway,
You know, it's funny too because everyone thinks of crawfish as being the Louisiana thing. The Texans eat way more crawfish than Louisiana does.
absolutely. And I think I eat more crawfish than Louisiana does. All right, we're going to take a break, and we will be back in a moment. We are on location at Casa de Monte Cristo, 6608 Farm Road, 1960 FM 1960.
Yes.
Makes it sound a little less, hickish.
Cypress.
But it's
Park Freeway
the
or
reason it's FM is it's called Farm to Market Road because
Yes.
that's what these roads were.
They were.
Back in the day.
The
That
main
was
road
when
to
you
the
hitched
city.
up the horse and the wagon and rode them vegetables and stuff into the city. We'll be right back. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toastin' on location at the FM 1960 location of Sirius Cigars. Oh, that's what it used to be. It's now Casa de Monte Cristo.
1960, yeah.
And,
Is it Serious Cigars by Casa de Monte Cristo?
No, just Casa.
Okay, this
Casa
was just Casa.
1960.
Because the
Yeah.
other one
Casa
is
1960. That's what we'll call. Now we know what to call it. Casa 1960.
1960.
We are here and enjoying a very lovely lager, Lakeside lager, which
Lakeside
was our
lager is
first
so
beer
good.
that we tasted here. Yeah, so we did pretty good with the beverage of mystery today, and the Lakeside lager is
Yeah.
good. We could be on a roll. I'm certainly enjoying this.
And now we
cigar.
know with seltzers, just take out those vowels and they somehow get better.
It has to help. Punch is an interesting website, punchdrink.com. It's not affiliated with Punch Cigars.
Okay, I was confused for a moment.
No, it's not affiliated with Punch Cigars, but they do a lot of interesting things about craft beer and spirits. And they recently updated a list of the coolest bars, the who's who. I'm not bars. I'm sorry, the coolest breweries, the who's who of super cool breweries in the United States. And I glanced at this list. And apparently I am just nowhere even remotely close to cool because I'd never heard of most of these. So I wanted to share this with you and see if you know,
We're all
you
probably
guys
not
know
cool either.
any of these, or if you're just as uncool as me. But more importantly, you guys, if these are making a list like this, they should at least be worth checking out
Right,
if you're
yes,
in
if
the
you're in the
neighborhood.
area, yeah.
Yep. So we start with Chicago and the brewery called Dovetail Brewery. Do you know of Dovetail? I don't
not.
think I do.
No.
It's known for traditional European beers, primarily lagers, and it says here, served via traditional methods. Does that mean glasses? I don't know.
Oh, I wonder if they do like the
Mugs.
slow pour.
Steins, maybe? Yeah, maybe.
I wonder if they do like the slow pour. They do draw from the keg,
Could
kind
be.
of versus
Yeah, could be.
fizz it out of the keg. Like
I was trying to make a
Maybe
silly
they're
joke.
dressed
but-
up serving it to you.
Maybe, yeah.
Traditional.
That would be kinda fun.
There's a brewery called Equal Parts that has an amazing lager called Lager Beer.
Yes.
And if you go to the brewery itself, you can get it in what they call a slow pour, which is a traditional method.
Ooh,
I'm not
nice.
going to explain it all right now, but it takes a while. You order it and you go sit down. You might even get a beer in between.
For some reason in
but when
my
it
mind,
comes out-
it's just really slow. You just go sit down for a while and you
that
just
tap's
sit
just
there.
real slow.
Like meal preparation beer.
But,
we haven't cleaned that one out.
but when you get it, it has a smoother, creamier texture to the beer. It really does change the mouthfeel substantially.
Maybe it's a
of the
gas
beer.
release.
Really, yeah, it's really,
Could
really
be, yeah.
interesting.
It's not too surprising that a brewery from San Diego made this list. But again, it's one I've never heard of. North Park Beer Company
Never heard
in
of it.
San Diego.
I have,
Known
yes.
You
for
have?
their...
I used to live in San Diego.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh, so you're familiar with North Park, see?
yes.
All right, you're one up on us here. It says here
Little bit
they're
cooler.
kind of known for their IPAs.
That makes you 1 point cooler than us at this
Yeah.
moment.
That's
That's
just
right.
a little bit cooler.
How about Albuquerque, New Mexico? I've been to Albuquerque. I've been to breweries in Albuquerque, but I've never been to Bow and Arrow Brewing, so apparently I missed out. But they are known for crisp lagers, bold wild ales, and IPAs celebrating southwestern flavors. The can to know, they say, from Bow and Arrow Brewing is the Denim Tux Pilsner.
It sounds nice.
Yeah, sounds good.
Pilsners are so popular right now.
I've been to Portland, Maine. I've been to a great brewery there, Shipyard. Oh my God, that's a great
Shipyard,
brewery.
yeah.
But the brewery that makes the list for the cool breweries is Sacred Profane Brewing. Love the name. Sacred
The
Profane
name is awesome.
Brewing. They're known for Czech style lagers, and the cans to know, they say the only two cans, pale lager and dark lager. That's apparently what they make.
They make a
Pale
pale
lager,
lager and a dark
and dark
lager.
lager. Yeah.
Hey, way to know your audience, right?
Shifting into Oakland, California, there's a brewery called Doka Beer. DOKKAEBIER. They're known for spotlighting Asian ingredients and flavors.
Oh, that's cool.
And the can to know, they say, is their kimchi sour.
Ooh, that sounds fun.
Okay.
I don't know about a kimchi sour,
love
but I would love to
kimchi.
try it.
Yeah.
I'd love to
I would try.
it.
I would try that if it's
Yeah.
on the
Just for the
list,
heck of it. Yeah, just to try it.
Just for something new and different.
I love the Brooklyn Brewery, in Brooklyn, but that's not the one they name. They name Back Home Beer from Brooklyn, New York. Classic styles reimagined with Middle Eastern ingredients.
Interesting.
And the can to know, they say, is the Persian Blue Lager. So again, it's just fun to know about these, right? So you can visit them if you're from Inglewood, California, the Crowns and Hops Brewing Company, known for their IPAs, and they have a hazy. That's and then Inglewood, Colorado, the Lady Justice Brewing Company, known for English, German, and Belgian styles with fresh updates. And the can to know, they say, is the Strawberry La Lager. Elsewhere Brewing from Atlanta, Czech style lagers and Belgian ales, and Vine Street Brewing from Kansas City, Missouri. Time-honored lagers plus forward-thinking IPAs and sours. Those are the ones to know. You can find this list at punchdrink.com, and we'll be right back at Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. Just like that. I love it. Welcome back at Smoking and Toasting. We are on location at the site of maybe one of the world's largest humidors. It's unbelievable. Yes. We are at the Casa de Monte Cristo on FM 1960. Casa 1960, they call it.
Yes, Casa, 1,600 different cigars.
Yeah, I love it. And, it's funny because I say this to my wife all the time. I don't enjoy shopping. Like, when I go shopping, I want to get what I went for and get out. I don't need to browse. I don't need to walk up and down the aisles.
I'll try them on at home.
That changes dramatically when it comes to cigars.
Absolutely.
I could wander around in there for days and just be entertained by looking at everything.
We had somebody here 40 minutes yesterday, just browsing each one, and I went and checked, and they're like, "No, I'm good." I'm like, okay.
I was going to say, when I walked in, almost immediately. The gentleman that was in there said, "Can I help you find anything?" And I said,
"I don't even know what I'm looking for."
No, thanks. I'm just and he just had this knowing look, like, yeah, that's what they all say.
Like, it's a thing we've talked about, like how we approach new cigar shops, and my approach is always to walk in and I'll do a quick-ish kind of walk around, just a mental inventory to see how things are laid out, and then I'll go back and start over and kind of look in detail at stuff. And I always do in anything, any store or place that has interest to me. I always kind of do that same routine, just because, whether it's a hardware store or a cigar humidor or something, there'll be sometime when I go, I've seen one of those. Where did I see it?
Mm-hmm. Well, you probably saw it in here, because I saw stuff. I was like, I haven't seen that before. Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. All right. So what does it mean? We talked about this at the top of the show, that agave prices have taken a very abrupt dive, and it is sparking, apparently, panic sales among agave growers. Over the last decade, tequila's experienced a meteoric rise in sales in the United States. So the demand for agave went up dramatically.
We had Lilia on just 2 years ago, I think it was.
Yes.
And she was talking about the Lilia Rodriguez is our Liliana, sorry. Yeah. Liliana Rodriguez is our
she's our tequila expert. Yes.
And she was talking about the agave shortage and the implications of what was going to come up. So it's amazing that just in 2 years this has turned around to the other side of the coin.
Yeah, agave prices are plummeting in Mexico after hitting a record high price of about $2 per kilogram only 18 months ago. It fell to only 30 cents per kilogram as of February of this year.
That's got to hurt for the growers. Yeah.
So they noted that they expect prices to continue to drop as the number of new agave plants rises. Now, they say the agave price crash can be directly linked to the change in the availability of plants. So what happened was tequila went on this crazy popularity spike just a few years back. And people began looking at it as a premium beverage that they might have only looked at whiskey that way, or maybe whiskey and rum that way before. Right. Tequila began to be looked at as, wow, this is really a high quality sipping beverage, not just something I use to make margaritas and do shots of when I'm in college. So when that happened, the demand for agave went sky high. Oh, you're looking at the eclipse on your phone.
Apparently, I have some family that went out and took pictures of it.
Very nice. That
it did happen,
and I can look at that without going blind. So that's wonderful.
So we didn't miss it. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Ian. Anyway, the agave price crash now is a result of all of the planting that was done to try and keep up with this rapidly accelerated demand. They say the number of new plants increased by more than 10% between 2021 and 2022 alone. And the number of registered agave growers has more than quadrupled since 2018. Wow. So what we're seeing now is a kind of a sell-off, a panic sale among the growers, and it's yet to be seen how this will affect the actual price of a bottle of tequila.
Now more than before, we need the smoking and toasting barrel pick tequila. That's what we need.
I suspect though, we're going to see some more aged tequilas because you have extra.
Well, that's true. If you've got enough
product,
if you've got enough to meet the demand of your reposado,
you've got time to age them a bit and maybe come out with some.
And most of the really super pricey tequilas that are out there are the añejo extras, which are that's the, I guess, the terminology for the most aged tequila. But tequila's not like whiskey. You don't have to age it as long to get to what's considered a really big age.
Añejo is a year to 3,
right?
And
can you imagine aging a whiskey, selling a whiskey? It's aged a year and a half.
Actually, if you go to the bottom shelf, some of those are like that. Super fresh whiskey.
Yeah, that's right. Fresh is the key word. Yeah.
Straight from
baby whiskey
distillation.
Get that old wine out of here.
I have to talk about this beer because I'm just going to drink it all.
All right, the beer is an IPA, a double IPA actually, from Anchorage Brewing Company. It's called "We All Need a Friend," and their
the artwork is amazing.
Artwork is just.
I'm going to read what's on the can, then I'm going to pass this over to Miss Lizzie, and she can describe what's going on. But
while you do this, I'm going to drink.
It says art by Massive Face. Ingredients: water, hops, malt, yeast, and phantasm power.
Ooh.
Oh,
smells so
phantasm
good.
powder. I don't know what that is, but whatever it is, it's delicious because this beer is fantastic. Double India Pale Ale, DDH with phantasm powder, Muteca, Talus, and Nelson Sauvin hops, and you can taste that Nelson Sauvin.
And DDH is double dry hopped.
Double dry hop. So the artwork on here though is fantastic. Let me just pass this over and let her do some description.
Let me take
so
a
good.
can.
Let our resident artist take a look at the art and
so the
tell
artwork,
us what's going on here.
You know what, as Ian mentioned, it's kind of got a gothic little flair to it. Some really deep, warm reds, and it's almost biomechanical. I mean, just beautiful. It looks like a mix between like some type of a Japanese war face on top of, I would say, almost like Terminator. Like it's really cool.
It makes me think Iron Maiden album
and
cover.
So it's got this character on there, and they're holding their arm out like this, and on their hand is a rat.
Yeah.
So I guess that's their friend. Everybody needs a friend.
We all need a friend. Yeah.
It's brilliant though. It looks great.
It does. It's
Like
really
I wanna,
deep.
I want to peel that can and just put that on my wall.
Right?
Yeah.
It's so good.
Actually, this was the rejected artwork for the 45 RPM single of Ben by Michael Jackson. So apparently this one didn't make it, and all these years later, it shows up on a can of beer.
It's now officially appreciated.
Yeah, that's right. And it should be.
The company.
It should be. Speaking of appreciated, this IPA is fantastic.
So good.
Wow. And so I'm the guy who's prone to like almost all the IPAs.
Oh, that's really
But when you
good.
bring Ian in on an IPA, you've accomplished something.
I've already
He's-
refilled my glass.
That's
He's
like a
much
creamy-
pickier about IPAs than I am.
It's not like a creamy taste.
No,
It's
this
like really
is
good.
this is kind of it has a little bit creamier mouthfeel, but this is up there in the ranks with like the 90 minute and the some of those incredible double IPAs that are just so outrageously good, but not so outrageously hoppy that you just chewed up a pine cone or something like that.
Does it have a grapefruit taste?
It
to
does.
You?
It has. Well,
Yeah.
I think that's the Nelson Sauvin hops says in there, and it's got this big round mouth feel with this beautiful like creaminess to it, and the finish is fruity instead of bitter hops. It's
Right.
so incredibly good.
Right.
Well, I'm digging it. It's just got a, like you said, a mouthfeel that's a little different than what you expect from some of these double IPAs. But
I would drink that floating down the river.
yeah, I think what's happening in IPAs right now is, first of all, the IPA craze sort of took off in the how hoppy can we make it direction.
Right. At some point in time, someone just gave you a handful of hops and was like, there.
Right. And then the sort of counterbalance to that.
Chew on this for a while.
The counterbalance to that was the world of hazies, and then everybody releases a hazy, right? And so that's good or bad depending on what you like and how you approach these things. But what I see now is a kind of a settling. I'm finding that hazies in general that I'm trying that I have not tried before are much better than they were at the first. Because when they first came out, we had a couple of them that we could try that we thought were outstanding above the rest. Ghost in the Machine comes to mind. But now you've got so many of these that we're sampling of late that really are kind of in that same strategy.
I think the brewers are now, instead of in a search for how much hops can I stuff in there, I think they're in search of balance.
Right. How deliciously balanced can I make this IPA?
And that balance that this has is just so outrageously good.
What do you think?
That is a fantastic beer.
So IPA is a
The
trend.
first beer we did was fantastic too.
Yeah, so we're definitely on a roll. And with an actually passable beverage of mystery today, we're on a really good roll.
Right.
Now coming up, we're going to try to pair a little rum with our cigars and see how that goes. So we'll have that coming up as we try a Calabran Reserva 21 single estate selection rum from Panama. So that's coming up, and then we have one more beer to try, and it's from Martin House Brewing, one of the more creative breweries in Texas.
Now, my wife and I went to Martin House Brewery, and this would have been, 7 years ago, something like that.
It's in Fort Worth, right?
Yes. We went up and visited a friend of mine that lives in Keller, which is just outside of Fort Worth. And then she had a cousin that lived just south of there. So we ended up going, hey, let's stop by this brewery. And it was called Martin House. I'd never heard of it before. And we walked inside, and they had all these cans that say Oklahoma sucks. They had a beer that they were canning called Oklahoma sucks.
That's funny.
It was pretty funny.
Next door neighbors.
And their beers were all super good. I still have my glass from there. But their beers were all super good. They were just kind of a small operation.
They've done some really creative sours. They've done,
but it wasn't until about a year later when they started coming up with the super creative, really outrageous kind of stuff that they've become known for.
The beer we're trying from them today is a golden stout with coconut, and it's called Alien Apocalypse.
They were also, I think, the first one. You know how you buy bombers of beers. They never did bombers, but what they did is they did a tall rectangular cardboard packaging with beautiful artwork on it and put 2 cans in it and sold it as if you were buying a bomber.
Wow.
Which actually equals a little more beer than what you'd buy in a bomber. Because a bomber, I think, is 21 ounces or 22 ounces, and then, of course, that's 24. But now so many companies have glommed onto that sales, thing where they sell the 2 cans like that of a special.
But at the time, it looks good on the shelf right next to the bombers.
Yeah,
and that's really
it sells
cool.
right there with it, and
Absolutely.
you can ask for the same price point, and you're getting actually a little bit more beer in there.
Speaking of artwork, one of the things that I loved so much when we did our show at El Cuerpo Roto was how amazing the artwork was. Some of it was yours.
Yes.
Some of it was other artists that you were featuring there in what was just the coolest idea, which was a combination of an art gallery and a smoke lounge, smoking lounge.
And workshop, because you had a couple works in progress up. That was
I did,
amazing. I love that.
Right. It was so cool to see them, partway finished. But I'm noticing, Lizzie, with your new cigar home here, I see a few bare walls. I think you need to start talking these people into.
I'm thinking a mural.
Casa. Yeah.
Maybe mural.
Oh,
Wouldn't that
I
be
would
nice?
love that.
That's
You could do
amazing,
like a mural that was like a cigar, a tobacco field with, a stand with some roll. Oh, see, I'm thinking about it already. I love this.
Well,
It's
you
like a
said
window.
you also mentioned some of your new art that you're doing. If I'm allowed to talk about it, is using
cigar bands
and creating almost like a pixel style picture with the cigar bands, but making these giant portraits and things like that.
I just
That's
finished
amazing.
the one with Churchill, Dita Von Teese. Try to really
Nice.
do all cigar bands. Try to save everything and recycle it.
That's awesome.
I think all paintings of Churchill should also include Dita Von Teese. That's just my that's my thing.
Combo, right?
Yeah, right. Together. All right, we're going to be right back. While I've still got a little bit of this Crowned Head Series E, I want to try pairing it with rum, and then I'll light my next cigar, and we'll see how that one goes. So it's rum time next on Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And we're going to try a little fine spirit with hand-rolled cigar in this segment because we're going to try doing a little rum pairing with what we're smoking. Now, I'm smoking just the last of this Series E from Crowned Heads. Ian is working on a Rocky Patel Edge 25th anniversary, and you just started something new, didn't you?
I just switched over to a Trinidad Espiritu.
Now, I love that cigar. That's
it's super
that's
smooth.
A wonderful,
First
and
time.
I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, that is the one that has the wrapper from Mexico.
That's the San Andreas.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It's got a little bit of a reddish tint to the wrapper.
San
Andreas has generally a little reddish tint to that wrapper.
San Andreas wrapper and Nicaraguan tobacco are a wonderful combination. And that's what I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, that one has.
It's a series number 1, Espiritu.
Series number 1. Yeah. Love it. Okay, so while I still had a little bit of the nub of this Crowned Heads left,
I do want to point out that I feel like pairing rum with cigars is a bit like shooting fish in a barrel, and that rum and cigars just always go well together.
Yeah, you're right about that. Whiskey can be a little bit more finicky.
It can be a little more finicky.
Oh my goodness!
And Scotch especially.
Have you tried this?
I haven't yet, but I smelled it. It smells really nice.
Oh my goodness! When was the last? time
it's got a little bit of like.
That's good. Oh, wow.
It's got a little bit of the sweet, like almost chemical kind of thing that I love in there. I know that sounds like a negative, good though.
Well, after you take your first sip, I'll ask you, when was the last time you had a huge slice of German chocolate cake?
Wow. That is pretty outrageous.
I mean, it really is.
The raw cane sugar
not a big
on the aftertaste is super nice.
That's actually really good.
All right, so now go back to your smoke and let's see how we do.
See how well they play together?
Well, absolutely perfect match with the Crowned Head Series E, I can tell you that.
So I'm smoking the Edge 20th anniversary, which is very...
I keep saying 25th. It's 20th anniversary.
20th anniversary, right. And it's very nutty and earthy and woody. And this goes so well with it. Like the flavors almost just wrap around each other. They don't interfere with each other. It's a nice combination. So you still get the sweetness from the rum and everything.
I was gonna say, I think you need a stronger smoke with this one because this one is a little bit too light for me. I think the Tabernacle paired better with this one.
Interesting.
The Spiritu?
No, the Espiritu is good, but I think the Tabernacle, just having the Maduro wrapper.
With a little more of the pepper, a little more of the punch.
Exactly, because of the sweetness.
I'm doing pretty well with the second cigar, and I had already lit this, although I had to touch it back up. But I have the Plasencia, the Alma del Fuego, not to be confused with the Alma Fuerte.
Yes.
Right, that's a good one.
This is a really wonderful cigar, and I'm just now kind of feeling it coalesce with the rum, and it's working perhaps one, even better than the
If I
Series
remember
E.
correctly, that's like it's got kind of a rosado kind of wrapper on it, and it's got a real like almost a white peppery kind of start to it. So the pepper that kind of hits the outside edges of the tongue and the back of the palate a little bit instead of right up front like the black pepper.
So what this does with the rum, if you take a sip of the rum and you get that on your palate, and then you take a puff of this cigar, it turns the retrohale into a thing of beauty. It's really a wonderful experience. I don't know how that will work necessarily with what you've got over there, but
I mean, you nailed it with the chocolate cake with some cinnamon in the background.
A little bit of that coconutty vibe that you get from a German chocolate cake.
There's a light cotton candy kind of note to it as well that I get on the retrohale when I'm smoking this cigar.
We'll continue to talk about this, but we have something very important coming up. It's a thing we call drinking news, and it's next on Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back, my friends. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars.
I love those
We
things.
are on location at the Casa 1960. It's the Casa de
Yes.
Monte Cristo location on FM 1960 in Houston. We're having a great time smoking cigars and drinking a little rum. And, of course, we've been drinking just enough that it's appropriate now to bring you drinking news.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. May I say, very professionally done. And that
That was
fits
fantastic,
It
yes.
fits right in with what I'm about to talk about on Drinking
Like, we
News.
spare no expense. We do live music on this.
That's right. How about
Top
that?
10.
You know, here at Smoking and Toasting, and I'll just mention once again that
I
Drinking
love when you
News.
start here at Smoking and Toasting. It always means something good's coming up.
I'll just remind you first that Drinking News is where we bring you stories that are sometimes, but not always, about drinking, but that are always best enjoyed if you've been drinking. And so I see Ian pouring more rum, and as I scoot my little rum cup over just to make sure that
Oops, I accidentally spilled a little bit in your cup.
oh yeah, that happens. Well, here at Smoking and Toasting, as evidenced by the professional way that you saw that whole Drinking News song go down just now, we're really proud of our job performance. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that we're really good at it.
We practice.
I mean, given the fact that our job is drinking craft beer and fine spirits and smoking hand-rolled cigars, I'd say we're actually in the unique position of looking forward to our performance reviews. I mean, if there's anything we excel at, it would be these three things. Some people are not so good at their jobs. In fact, some people are just downright awful at what they do. I mean, I don't need to tell you much about how bad politicians are at doing their job, but here's some numbers. In 2023, the United States House of Representatives passed a grand total of 27 bills. 27. In 1 year. How many did they vote on?
I was going to say.
Not that many. Just 724. If 27 out of 724 was your batting average, you'd promptly get kicked the hell out of not just baseball's major league, but even the Little League or Pee Wee Baseball. And if I'm not mistaken, those are the leagues where everybody gets a trophy. Don't get me started on that one.
Participation trophy.
That's right.
You're a winner, too.
But there are plenty of people who just don't have what it takes to do a good job in their profession. Like the surgeon in Los Angeles, this is real, who operated to remove a man's testicle and took off the wrong one.
His leg?
So many things, so many questions. So
Or the
many
doctor
things.
who couldn't find the titanium surgical rod that he was
Wow.
supposed to be inserting into a man's spine, so he took the handle off a screwdriver and used that instead. Within a few days, it broke. Within a year, so was the doctor.
Oh, mercy.
Here at Drinking News, we bring you stories all the time of criminals who make stupid mistakes and get themselves arrested. But our story today involves a crook who was so lame at his job that he couldn't even successfully complete a robbery. It's the story of a Georgia man.
Georgia man.
I love how the song's the same. The only thing that changes is the state name.
Do I need to come up with a little stinger for every state?
I don't know. That seems
Maybe
like a
the
lot of work.
accent. Maybe the accent.
Maybe an accent.
Maybe an accent.
Maybe a little.
I'm really not good at accents. I've got one, and it's the one I'm speaking with right now.
Our story is of a Georgia man who decided last summer that he needed some cash. So he opted to try to rob a place where he apparently thought there'd be thousands and thousands of dollars just laying around, which of course was an Atlanta nail salon.
Someone else's dough.
The unnamed would-be robber was captured on surveillance video, because of course he was, strolling into the salon named Nail First in Atlanta and loudly demanding everyone's money. He told the patrons and workers, "Everybody get down. Give me all your money. Empty out your pockets.
Hold on a second. Hold on. Does anyone carry cash anymore?
I don't. I mean,
Like, that's
if
the
you rob
question,
me,
like-
you're lucky
A
to
little
get
bit,
$2.
maybe 20 bucks.
I always try to have a little cash
Yeah, a little
on me,
bit.
but there are a lot of places that are just completely cashless now. Like, how do you rob that place?
Right.
I'm curious. Did he get a mani-pedi while he was there?
Well, I'm sure that this Georgia man picked the nail salon because he thought he'd meet with little resistance from the customers and employees, right?
Yeah, those are
and be able to
gangsters.
make off with his ill-gotten gains. But the ladies at Nail First employed a genius strategy to foil his attempt. They completely freaking ignored him. Nobody got down. Nobody emptied their pockets. Nobody even acknowledged him at all.
No.
Well, he didn't have an appointment.
Thing to see.
Like a high school thing where you just ignore the person until they get mad.
Or no, if you have a cat, you know what this looks like, right? Because cats are the best at ignoring you.
Yes, yes.
He continued to yell at them and demand their cash repeatedly, while the salon women continued to pretend that he didn't exist. The assailant then became angry and approached a man who worked in the salon, who was standing by the cash register, and demanded money from him, asking, "Where's the money?"
Please acknowledge me.
At least he didn't say, "Show me the money."
Show me the money.
Anyway, about that time, the salon's phone rang, and instead of even acknowledging the would-be robber, the worker casually answered the phone and presumably began to schedule an appointment for the person on the other end of the line.
Nice.
So about this time,
Nice.
a woman stood up, and the frustrated criminal approached her immediately, again repeating his demand of, "Give me the money! Where's the money?" The woman casually replied, "I don't have any." And then she walked out the front door. The exasperated
Totally
thief
dismissed.
looked around sheepishly before following her out and running up to her one last time, and again was unsuccessful. He finally walked away from the salon, dejected and empty-handed. Now, who knew that simply ignoring the robber could prove to be such an effective deterrent? Is that something they teach you in nail salon school? If so, it certainly worked. And I think that there's much that we can learn from these employees and patrons of Nail First in Atlanta. There is so much ridiculousness in the world today. And I'm thinking that we all might be much happier if we just didn't give it the time of day.
You know, nail salons have to deal with like angry wives all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that someone trying to rob them is a nothing to them.
Exactly.
And
We're prepared for it.
While of course there are things that you should acknowledge, like the check engine light or a subpoena or that annoying rash that you got after a drunken night about which you have no memory. Here at Drinking News, we're thinking that there may be a lot of times where a person or thing should really just be completely ignored. So with that in mind, I've prepared, at no additional cost to you, the listener, a handy Drinking News top 5 list of things that should totally, absolutely be completely ignored. These are the top 5 other situations where a person or thing should absolutely be ignored. Little top 5 list music. Number 5, the guy in the park with a bullhorn screaming at families and kids that they're all going to hell. Ignore him. Number 4, the voicemail you get that says, "Congratulations, you've won free vacations and prizes."
Is who are you calling for again?
It's not a text. Ignore it.
Number 3, the My Pillow guy. Number 2, anyone who asks the question, "Does this look infected to you?" And the number 1 person or thing that should absolutely be ignored, number 1, Steven Seagal and his claims that he's a secret CIA agent, and also that he solved major cases for the Louisiana Police Department, or for that matter, anything Steven Seagal ever says, ever.
Also, he's not so much of a good guitar player.
Does he claim to be? I didn't.
Oh,
I
you'll
missed
see.
that.
You'll see videos of him on YouTube saying Steven Seagal, greatest blues solo ever. It's not so blues.
He's had the same hairdo for the last 30 years.
Oh.
It's not so good.
Same hair for the last 30 years.
Reporting live from Atlanta, where beautiful women have been ignoring me for years. My name is Cruz, and that is your
Drinking news, drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all. Well,
That really opens up a whole new realm of, I could just imagine places training people will say you just ignore them. Turns out that's all we need to do is just ignore them.
Just ignore them.
Act like you don't speak English. Just do that. That's, ignore them completely.
You spend a week at the nail salon
Yeah.
to get trained. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, can you imagine?
Just
the
everywhere,
attitudes
every
that-
restaurant, everything.
The attitudes that they have to put up with in nail salons.
Oh, for sure.
People walk in there and they're very, very, what's the word? Entitled feeling.
a
And
little
feel
on
like they can belittle everybody.
little on the Karenish side of life. What the robber should have said is, I want to speak to your manager. That's what he should have said. Right?
I'm going to tell somebody. I'm going to post this.
That's right.
I would have loved to have seen the security cam footage on that. Some guy just frantically going through the thing, shoving a gun in these ladies' faces, and they're just sitting there painting a nail like nothing's happening.
They're like, you or my 2-year-old.
So absolutely true. Well, this has been a really fun edition of the show.
Rum and cigar is very
over,
good, by the way.
One of the things I forgot to do, so Ian, you'll have to entertain the folks for a moment while I dig around and get our final beer.
I can be entertaining.
Okay.
I'm just trying to
for
imagine, like, the things that these ladies at the salons have to put up with. My wife brought in a not quite friend of hers one time to a nail salon.
A not quite friend of hers?
Nice
a
description.
friend of a friend,
Friend of a
really.
friend, yeah.
Girlfriend of a friend, actually. And they were talking one time at one of my gigs, and she's like, "Oh, you have a nail salon you like?" And so she brings her to her nail salon, and she ends up being like a total, what, the whole time. The next time she goes into her nail salon, they're like, "So your friend has come in here a few times," and she's like, "Oh, not my friend." No. And then my wife was too embarrassed to go into that nail salon anymore.
So she had to change.
So she had to change the nail salon.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
the hardest, though, finding a nail salon. That really is. It's like finding a new barber. Like, you finally find that perfect person.
Okay. So I just have to say, and I'm going to hand Ian this so he can start pouring. But the whole thing about the barber, it's totally true. And there's a Seinfeld episode
Right?
that's all about that.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
went through that. I decided there was this person that cut my hair. I'd known her for a long time. And I'm just going to say that as the years went by, she was very good at cutting hair, although it took her a while. So I always was kind of like stuck in the chair for too long. And
Yes, I understand that.
Counselor
I
slash
actually went
barber.
through kind
Yeah.
of the same thing.
and her prices kept kind of going up and up and up, which I guess, inflation, whatever. But I don't know. Over the years, she just got weirder and weirder. And it was finally to the point that I was realizing I was dreading every time I went to get my hair cut.
That's not a good sign.
So I made a change. And then I don't want to say the word stalker because that's a bit much, but to this day, I still get texts from her.
Are you coming back?
Yeah, and it's like,
Is your hair to your ankles yet?
it's like, how long do I have to go without getting my hair cut by you for you to understand that I'm not coming back?
Just tell her you moved.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I live in Alaska now. I work at Anchorage Brewing Company, or I live in Fort Worth and I work at Martin House. And Ian, I got to get your take on the artwork on this beer can before we. But it's been a good day for artwork here.
It's alien apocalyptic.
Yeah.
Or alien landscape, but no, it's alien apocalyptic.
Yeah,
It's is very interesting.
and we'll
Landscape art.
anything you want to read from the can, or I think it's
Golden stout with coconut. They don't always have a lot of information on here. It is 10% though. It's coming in at 10%.
holy moly. Have you tasted this yet?
It says malt beverage with natural and artificial flavors. I can't read some of this.
Yeah, it's sometimes hard to read these beer can prints. So we're getting a little on time in this segment.
That's pretty amazing.
Pass this
Yes.
on to you for your take on the artwork.
Yeah, it's funky. It is landscape. It's kind of like an apocalypse, really. Like, the world's pretty much kind of perfect for today, the
Yeah.
end of times,
Yeah.
right here.
It's almost like there's an eclipse in the background.
Yeah, right.
Like War of the Worlds.
Yeah.
Right?
War-
Like that,
yeah, it's a
War
bit
of the
War of the
Worlds.
Worlds, yeah.
Yeah. That is funky.
Oh my gosh. This is fantastic.
Talk about this beer, Ian.
Do you like coconut?
Yeah,
it smells.
it's
You can
almost ticky-ish, but it's boozy.
Yeah, it's really, really good. There's an interesting astringent quality to the aftertaste as well that really leaves you like wanting that next sip.
So
Almost a woody kind of thing going on.
So we got to take a break, but it's interesting because there was coconut in the last beer, or coconut flavor, and it is in this. But the last beer, it was more sweet, like a German chocolate cake. Here, it's more tropical, like a really good bushwhacker cocktail or something like
It's
that.
like a pina colada beer.
Oh yeah, very much so.
Yeah,
yes.
like a pina
All right,
colada.
we got to take a break, but we will be back to wrap things up and talk a little bit more about this beer. It's Smoking and Toasting. Man, this is a great cigar.
Agreed.
There's a pina colada delicioso that's over there.
In the beginning,
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We're still under the thrall of this last beer, and with the rum that we had before, and now this beer, we're in a very tropical mindset
are.
right now, and I kind of like it.
Oh, beer goes well with rum.
Oh yeah. Well, generally speaking,
It brings out a little bit of bitterness in the beer, but it also amplifies the coconut and the woody flavors in the beer that are incredibly interesting.
so
Martin House
interesting.
does it again, man. They always just go off the rails with what they're making.
So I went from the beer to the rum, and I lost all of the coconut in the rum. It's still got a chocolatiness to it, but it hits the palate differently than if you were drinking it before. This is very interesting.
Yeah, it gives the rum a little sweeter around the edges.
Yep. Well, I do like it going back to the beer though.
Yeah.
This beer manages to be boozy and somehow still feels slightly crushable at the same time.
I would drink this floating down the river.
But what wouldn't you drink floating down the river?
A lot, actually.
I don't know. There was one a few weeks ago, and you said you would not. I remember there was one.
We'll have to go back. We'll check the tape.
Yeah.
We have a
It's better with the
statistician.
Trinidad.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, much better.
Works with the Trinidad.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, everything seems to be working well with this Plasencia, the Alma de Fuego. Yes,
Yeah.
I see. It's so easy for me to get those confused. But this is the orange red label, and the other one is the green label. So
Yeah. Fire of the soul.
at least I can tell colors. At least, I have that going for me. So we are really enjoying being here. We're in the Smoking Lounge area at the Casa 1960 in Houston, Texas, off of FM 1960. And this is just a lovely place to spend an eclipse afternoon.
If you're
which
on the
is when we
north side of
recorded.
Houston, if you fly into Intercontinental
Right, yeah.
Airport, this is not that far.
Like 15 minutes
Yeah.
at the most. Yeah.
Yeah.
And plus I'm here, so
Yes.
that's always
Yeah.
a perk.
Yeah.
And you get to see Miss Lizzie, especially on the weekends.
Yes.
Yeah, and tell me, will you at least eventually try to smoke one of each of the cigars? brands in the
Absolutely.
humidor?
Absolutely. Before the end of the year.
I love
Working
that.
through the humidor.
I love that. What happened to all of the artwork you had on display at El Cuaparoto?
Everything's online now.
Oh, it's all still
online.
available.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
absolutely still
Good.
available.
And you're still painting, right?
I'm still
And
painting.
you
yeah.
still have your shirts for sale and
I
things
do,
like that. I
yeah.
love that shirt that I have with the older lady smoking a cigar. It's just it's just a statement. It's
She
so
just
good.
sold.
Oh,
that painting
amazing.
sold.
Did,
wow.
Yeah, she just sold.
Great.
Which
Are
I'm
you a
excited.
little sad to see it go?
It's like my child. I
Yeah.
am. I'm sad, and I'm hoping somebody's taking care of her.
Sending her off into the world.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah. You hope that the people, and I suppose people have to have a degree of appreciation for a painting like that to
You would
actually
hope.
purchase it.
Yes.
But you just hope she's going to a good home, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. Well, this has been a blast. Ian,
So
favorite
good.
thing today? What do you like?
Favorite
best?
thing today, man. That this is really good, but that IPA
Yeah.
was so outrageous,
This one?
and that lager that we had first, those things
Yeah.
were so amazingly good, like in what they are. Plus the artwork on that can is amazing. Like that's and Martin House artwork is fantastic, but this one right here is just the favorite of the day for me.
Yeah, it really is. Just the fact that he's holding the rat. There's something about that.
Yes.
But what's with the Pinocchio nose? That's the other part I don't quite understand.
That's the I think it's a Japanese style because it's
Yeah.
actually a mask.
It's more of a mask
Yeah.
than a
It's a
Pinocchio
mask.
nose.
It's
Yeah.
covering up the machine
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
hidden.
Did anybody actually see that live action Pinocchio movie?
No, I haven't. I
haven't either.
I've threatened to, but I haven't.
I haven't.
It looks
either.
depressing.
It does. It's.
That's why they need a friend.
You know, it all comes together, doesn't it?
Doesn't matter if it's human or an animal.
Well, I just want you to know you're welcome on any show we ever do anyway.
thank
So
you.
just drop in. Be Alan Denny. Just show up unannounced and drop in. It works for him, and it
Not
would
stalking
work
in any
even
way.
better.
So.
Yeah, no, at least you're not my old
Play
hair
Misty
cutter.
for me again.
Ian, anything coming up on the show? Future shows you want to?
Yeah, next week we're going to have a great show. We're going to have Pecho Tierra, which is making spirits in Monterrey, Mexico. We're going to have Roberto Rivas back on the show. He's got the bottles of Pecho Tierra. These are people that he's gotten in touch with and he's had on his own. Rob the Spirit Box Twitter account, and then we're going to have them on, and then coming up pretty soon we're going to have Dan Crowell back on, who's going to have.
It's been a while since we had Dan.
We
on.
haven't
He's
had Dan
fun.
on in a long time, so I don't know what he's going to bring yet, but we're going to see what happens.
So Mexican spirits next week.
Mexican spirits next week that we're not used to.
Yeah, I know.
Completely different.
Yeah, something completely different. I'm excited about it. We will see all of you then. Thank you for joining us for a really fun show, and thanks to you.
Yeah,
You're-
absolutely.
you're the
Absolutely.
best.
Come
It's
visit
so
me
good
in
to see.
1960 Casa de Monte Cristo.
It's and set aside an hour or two and just wander through the humidor.
I'll leave you alone, I promise.
Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you on next week's show, and until we meet again, my friends.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.